Hello everybody and welcome back to the West Coast Today podcast with me Owen Wild,
me Matt Young,
me Kathy Griffiths,
me Fiona Scott,
and me Sandy Neal.
In this podcast we let you know some of our stories making the headlines this week online at www.westcoasttoday.co.uk and in the printed editions of this week's Oban Times and also Lochaber Times. We're approaching the end of the year and a lot of festive and exciting events are coming up, but your stories are as always the most important. Drop us an email at editor@obantimes.co.uk, editor@lochabertimes.co.uk, message us through our socials or give us a call on 01631 568 000 to tell us what's going on. Right, we're straight into it with this week's first headlines and we've got Matt Young. Matt, what's happening?
Thank you, Owen. The MV Isle of Isla finally has a due date after completing sea trials in Yalova, Turkey. The vessel is one of 4 being built in the country, and if everything goes to plan, it will arrive in November this year. New population figures based on the 2022 census are better than expected in Argyll and Bute. The report shows depopulation in the area, but only by 700. Predictions from 2018 estimated the fall would be over 5,000. And finally, Bob MacIntyre secured his first DP World Tour win of the season at a weather-hit Alfred Dunhill Links Championship on Sunday. The world number 8 won by 4 shots over Ryder Cup teammate Tyrrell Hatton at St Andrews Old Course. MacIntyre is the first Scot to win the event since Colin Montgomery in 2005.
Thanks Matt, great to see Bob doing so well. Right, next up is Kathy, who has a letter of warning about postal services in Oban.
That's right. Royal Mail hold-ups are delivering postal strife for customers in and around the Oban area who are fed up with delays. Hospital appointments are being missed while others are receiving important news or getting greetings too late. Some are even turning up at the post office themselves to collect their own. Royal Mail says it's struggling with high levels of sickness absence and vacancies, but it's doing its best with what resources it has. Scottish Sea Farms has withdrawn its appeal to quash an action stopping it from discharging antifungal fish treatments such as formaldehyde into Loch Crieran. A YouTube-hosted hearing was called off after SEPA said it was now satisfied the issues that caused the temporary ban were now sorted. And keeping on the marine theme, a tiny loggerhead turtle washed up on Tiree could be back home in the warmer waters of the Azores next year, all thanks to a heroic 4-year-old rescuer and his mum. You can read this heartwarming story in this week's OT and online.
Thanks Kathy, that sounds like a great read. On to some more headlines. The head of Argyll and Bute Council's planning committee has questioned the logic behind the controversial appeal that saw a developer bypass democracy in its attempts to build a battery park in Tynalt. Oban has a new 20-mile-an-hour zone on its main street, and Oban High School students have been branded superstars for their amazing performance in the town's first fire skills course. We also bring you a roundup of the chaos from Storm Amy, from which many have recently just recovered. Finally from me, a boy from Mull has run over 200 kilometres to raise money for his friend with cancer. Fort William FC starlet Leon McLean battled wind, rain and even COVID on his challenge, and his fundraiser is still open for those who want to donate. Speaking of Fort William, next up we've got Fee with the Lochaber Times news. What's happening up north, Fee?
Well, thank you, Owen, and very well done to Leon over there. So, we have some exciting news from Roybridge this week. A new development at the site of the former primary school there is a step closer to reality thanks to a grant of £79,860. This came from the Scottish Land Fund. The Victorian building was permanently closed by Highland Council in October 2022, but a community asset transfer to the Speenbridge, Roybridge and Achnacarry SCIO, along with this latest round of funding, means that the school and surrounding buildings can have a new lease of life. Also this week you can find out how a group of friends from Fort William are blending their love of wine and the great outdoors to raise money for 2 local mountain rescue charities. Sounds good to me. We also have a bulging sports section, despite the widespread cancellations of weekend shinty football and rugby matches due to Storm Amy last week. So don't stop at the front, head over to the back pages as well. You can also catch up on all this week's news and sport on the Lochaber Times website at www.westcoasttoday.co.uk.
Thank you very much, Fee. Now, there is one more thing happening in Fort William quite soon, a certain celebration of Gaelic culture. Sandy, it's the Mòd. Dun 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 dun!
Dun.
Woohoo! Sorry, thought I'd just add a bit of extra in there.
Alright, so tell us all about it, Sandy.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, for that great introduction. Well, musical talents from all over the country will come together in Fort William from Friday for the 9-day Royal National Mòd, celebrating Gaelic language, sports, art and culture. Participants from Lewis to London will descend on our home Mòd to watch over 200 competitions. We want to help share your news, especially if you're from Lochaber and Argyll, in our newspapers and our website, www.westcoasttoday.co.uk. We would be delighted to hear any stories you wish to tell us about your performances at this year's Lochaber Mòd. What did you perform? How did it go? Why was it special? Just email your words and images to mod@obantimes.co.uk, and don't forget to tell us who's in the photo. Good luck to everyone meanwhile, and we look forward to seeing and hearing you.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Well, folks, that's all we have time for this week. Remember to pick up your papers from tomorrow at the usual retailers and read more stories online at www.westcoasttoday.co.uk. Come back next week for another podcast. Until then, it's goodbye from me, Owen Wild.
Me, Matt Young.
Me, Kathy Griffiths.
Me, Fiona Scott.
And me, Sandy Neal.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, hey.